In January 2020, a workshop was held to discuss the conservation of small shorebird species that migrate among US, Russia, and Japan. The workshop aimed to seek for the opportunities of developing cooperative researches and conservation actions on small-sized migratory shorebird species, especially Dunlin, the population of which is declining rapidly with only little understanding and poor actions for its conservation. We planned this Dunlin session to share the workshop outcome and call for more attention to the conservation of Dunlin, which is a shared asset of North and East Asian countries in the EAA. The Dunlin is the dominant shorebird species that winter in Japan. Dunlin shares about 65% of all the wintering shorebirds in our country. It is also important as an environmental indicator for tidal floods. Unlike other shorebird species, Dunlin generally stays in the northern hemisphere. It has the potential for a flagship species for the conservation of shorebird in East Asia. It is said that 4 subspecies of Dunlin are using the East Asian-Australasian Flyway. Dr. Rick Lamptot and his team have been unveiling Dunlin's migration routes. This will be further introduced in their presentation after this. The connectivity among Dunlin's breeding, staging, and wintering areas has been partly identified by long-term banding recovery efforts through the EAA. However, there are still many information gaps in order to consider the conservation strategies. Prior to the report on the situation in Japan, I'd like to briefly introduce shorebird's monitoring scheme in Japan. The monitoring of shorebirds started early 1970s by citizens who realized the degradation of shorebird habitats due to the rapid economic growth. They thought the shorebirds are the indicator on the health of the tidal floods. Now, such monitoring is inherited and included into the Shorebird survey of the Monitoring Site 1000, the National Monitoring Scheme. The objective of the Monitoring Site 1000 is to detect the degradation of ecosystems in early stage through long-term continuous monitoring. There are over 6,000 researchers and citizens joining as monitors. The Monitoring Site 1000 covers all ecosystem types in Japan. One of the surveys, Shorebird survey, is conducted by scientists and citizens at 154 sites, 3 times a year in spring, autumn, and winter. Bird banding has long history in Japan. The banding of Dunlins has been conducted since 1973. Dunlins are also color marked. We are not showing many figures here, but the results show that many individuals are returning to the same wintering sites or stopover sites. The color flags have revealed some of the movements of Dunlins that winter and migrate through Japan. There are many records of Dunlins between Japan and Alaska. It can be said that the subspecies that comes to Japan the most would be arcticola. Although very small in number, there are cases that connect Japan and Chukotka in Russia. There is an individual that came through Japan and wintered in Busan of Korea and goes back to north again through Japan. Color flagging is an important research that can show such interesting observations. The figures here show the three-season distributions of Dunlin in Japan. The darker the color, the larger the population. In spring and winter, at the left side and right side, Dunlins are often seen in the inner bays of Ariake Sea, Ise Bay, and Tokyo Bay on the Pacific Ocean side. On the other hand, autumn in the middle is the beginning of the the autumn is the beginning of the arrival of Dunlins in Japan. When we see the map in the middle, there is a dark red in Ariake Sea. In Ariake Sea, the population increases in September, although the increase starts around October in other areas in Japan. There are not enough data for winter to analyze the long-term trend, so we just show the trends in spring and autumn. This is the long-term trend of Dunlin's population. Here, the model of Amano 2012, a trend analysis of Japan using hierarchical Bayesian model, is adopted to obtain the trends. The vertical axis is the index value, not the population size, with the year 2016 as the starting point. In spring and autumn, the population declined significantly in the 1970s to 1980s, when the land reclamation was active due to the rapid economic growth. The population went down to about 1/6 in spring and to 1/10 in autumn. These figures are showing the changes in recent years. The standard value is 2017 for these figures. Compared with the long term, the fluctuations are small, but the indexes show the decreasing trends in recent years. The number is decreasing from 2005 in the fall, in the autumn, and the decrease starts from 2010 in the spring and winter. The changes in spring and winter are thought to be representing the changes in Arcticola, our main subspecies. The change in autumn in the middle differs from the trend of the main subspecies in Japan. It is considered to indicate the variation of another population in Ariake Sea. There is one more observation from the monitoring data shown here. In Hokkaido, at the top of the map, and Dunlins are simply passing through and the number of individuals becomes maximum in the end of October. Kanto, Chubu, and Kansai regions in the middle of the map look similar. The numbers start increasing in October when Hokkaido sees its peak and becomes stable in early December. On the other hand, Kyushu at the bottom, Dunlins start to arrive in July, and there is already a flock of 1,000 arrived in early August. The difference between Kyushu and other areas in Japan in the timings of the increase may indicate that the populations and or subspecies may not be the same and or with different rules. Question arose from this analysis of monitoring data. We see the decline in the population of Dunlins. Then what is happening since 2010? And where does the autumn population in Ariake Sea come from? So possible actions to be taken in the next are listed here. The first is to do the analysis to find out the decreasing factors such as global warming, predation, poaching, habitat destruction, wintering grounds, and so on. The second is to do the exchange of information with relevant countries about trend changes, breeding and wintering conditions, and subspecies migration. To start with, we organized an expert workshop to share existing information in conjunction with the bilateral meeting with Russia. This workshop aimed to seek for the opportunities of developing cooperative researches and conservation actions on small-sized migratory shorebird species, especially Dunlin, the population of which is decreasing rapidly with only little understanding and pro-actions for its conservation. The workshop shared Dunlin's current situation in breeding, staging, and wintering areas and discussed the necessary research for its conservation by sharing the existing knowledge about migration patterns revealed by banding surveys and sharing the monitoring scheme and population trends in each country, and by identifying the knowledge gaps required for conservation actions in order to develop and prioritize the necessary researches and projects. The experts in the meeting shared the recognition that it is important to proceed monitoring and researches of Dunlin as a flagship species for the conservation of small shorebird species. They agreed that it is essential to share the outcome of the workshop at a few key meetings. That includes this meeting, the EAF Shorebirds science meeting. So here I don't explain a lot, but these are the important research actions that were identified in the Dunlin workshop. In the previous slide, although I wouldn't read all. Currently in Japan, we are conducting DNA analysis that is written on the number 3 bracket 1. In addition, we are trying to secure the funding for the number 4, identifying the breeding site of the population that are wintering in Japan. We believe that it is necessary to identify the migration route and important habitats for each subspecies and observe the trend through monitoring. The conservation of Dunlin will contribute to the conservation of other shorebird species that share the habitat with Dunlin. So we'd like to call for more attention to Dunlin in the range countries of its flyway. This is the end of our presentation, and we'd like to thank the experts from the United States, Russia, and Republic of Korea and China for joining this session in their busy schedule to kindly share their knowledge and information related to Dunlin. Thank you.